Hey Pegasus, I'm an eBay reseller and new to your content. I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say, but I'm also confused about the logic behind it. As a low-income blue-collar worker who makes just over $24K a year with no special skill sets, it's easier, in my opinion, to source low-cost goods from a thrift store to make extra money for bills than to start up a private endeavor and hope that my product or brand is seen. One requires very little investment for meaningful return, while the other promises big AF. I'm successful. I don't disagree with anything you've said. You're 100% correct in my opinion. Many reselling YouTubers are manipulating their audiences using scam tactics that, to be honest, I thought were dead in the modern age because of their blatant overuse. I also agree that in comparison, something like reselling is not a good long-term strategy for efficient time management or stable income. But what am I, that same blue-collar worker making $24K per year with zero experience and a mountain of debt, supposed to do with that information? How am I supposed to build success for myself? I think the difference for me is that some reselling YouTubers have openly shared their babies, methods, sources, knowledge, etc., which has given me a direct path to finding some measure of success. In the other arena, channels like yours are often informative and full of useful tips, but rarely seem to provide me with the tools I need as an undereducated person stuck in a small town with no opportunities. These aren't rhetorical questions or criticisms of your content. They're just how I personally see the situation, and I would love to be shown another way. I want nothing more than to generate sustainable, modest income so that I can afford to pay my bills, eat, and take care of my family. I have no desire to take sides, only to learn, which is exactly why reselling is attractive. I would sincerely enjoy hearing your perspective and response to this comment.
Hey, what's going on, loungers? Welcome to The Supply Chain, our new series on Sunday. Wow, that was a lot of S's. Now, I want to be clear that there is no patriotism for another country, and there is no allegiance to Jeff Bezos. The goal is to create a simple business that has the wind at our backs by attempting to connect a successful pipeline between the world's best factory portal and the best marketplace. My friends, we are creating assets in e-commerce through selling tangible goods. This show will help you as a reseller acquire your first batch of replenishable goods. Without a repeatable model, there's just no chance of business momentum propelling us forward. As humans, we get sick, we get old, we get injured. We cannot overly rely on the grind of hard labor, sweat, equity. Each week, you'll tune in to watch me source an item from overseas and check for its market viability. Look, I normally do not recommend anyone who is starting out to just jump directly into Amazon. What I do recommend for us is to make a pit stop along the way using platforms such as eBay and Etsy to confirm the viability and compliance of our product. eBay and Etsy are the best stomping grounds for much needed customer feedback to help us make solid decisions moving forward. So I want you to see what happens when people get way too ahead of themselves and just jump into the big leagues without doing the preliminary work first.
So people were using my stroller bag and returning them after their vacation. One or two, not a problem, but we're talking thousands of lost revenue because mommies and daddies were using my stroller bag and deciding, oh, we used it, no problem, it's Amazon, just return it. Guess what? If it's not an Amazon brand and you return that, your next door neighbor who's running her Amazon business out of her home eats it. Doesn't just have to take the return and eat it, but has to pay for all the return processing, sending it back to me with missing parts, used. Oh, look.
Yeah. And that's something I think that this is more than just a PSA for sellers to beware of selling on Amazon or things that you do on Amazon or paying for Amazon courses.
If you're crying about return abuse on Amazon, then you've skipped a crucial step. Amazon isn't a feedback-friendly place until after the fact. You should have tested your product in stomping grounds like eBay and Etsy first. places where customers interact frequently. That's where you get feedback, refine, and put your item through its paces before scaling it to Amazon. To shift from reseller items to what we're doing is about pivoting away from selling other people's brands and what other resellers are doing. Think about your current store's item titles. What would happen if we removed all of the branded keywords? Almost nothing would sell. So what is a commodity item? Oil, gold, wood, water, minerals. There's no branding hype here. Steel is steel. So what is a commodity type item? It's when the branding really isn't the deciding factor of the sale. Therefore, as a new player in the game, what will get your foot in the door are mostly commodity type items. So how does this work? Well, it's when the function of the item also meets the description of the item. I personally sell car seat covers. How do you search for that? You type in car seat covers. Pretty straightforward, right? Your item's keywords piggyback off of the typical search behavior and thus instant organic traffic without brand dependence. This is a show that carefully considers risk mitigation. We need to start with micro batches first. There is no white labeling here. White label is a term under the umbrella of private label, and there are two paths under private label, including white and custom. Most factories often have existing inventory for you to choose from, and you may purchase them as is, often asking for very low MOQs, as low as 10 units or less. But white labeling is when you add your own brand in addition to the item and packaging with very minimal changes. However, this addition significantly increases your MOQ. Custom labeling has more, if not full, creative control over your product with all of your own custom adjustments. Both white label and custom label are generally north of 1,000 units per minimum order. So it's clear that the smart progression is to start from micro batches with no branding and work your way up as your business sends you more green signals to do so. Spending money is not a problem if you're making money, and buying the things that you need to thrive is certainly a no-brainer. We will not be discussing anything FDA, ATF, or other regulated items. Those topics are overly complex for anyone at this stage and would derail the whole show from its main purpose, which is sourcing replenishables to build pipelines. This is a show for aspiring entrepreneurs of true body, mind, and spirit. That means you are a real go-getter, a problem solver. We will be using precise language from here on out. This is a show for resellers who are beginners at e-commerce. However, a beginner is not a novice. A novice comes from zero experience. If you are coming from zero, you can watch along, but there will be no hand-holding on topics of registering your business, getting sales permits, signing up for seller accounts, local state compliance, keeping track of your books, or filing your taxes. Resellers already have those down pat. So if you want this, you'll have to figure it out just like they did. Now, the only channel I recommend on YouTube to get into reselling is Justin Resells. You get it? Justin Resells, which I'm sure most of the community can confirm is currently the best source of reseller content. His channel is the most accurate depiction of what actually happens in this space, and yet he's only a part-timer. His show covers all of the technical aspects of being a reseller, from mechanics to compliance. The man has never overly embellished the realities with highlight reels or tried to inflate his business wisdom with nonsensical calculations. His guidance is solid, and he offers a simplified bookkeeping solution geared for newcomers in this space. Look, every business carries risks. Planning feels exciting. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's imaginative, it's fantasy, but strategy is pain. It's the part where you test, fail, adjust, and test again until something sticks. And when it does, we double down on it to make sure that it wasn't a fluke, then triple down once we confirm it's repeatable. That's how scaling actually works. What I teach is how to take calculated risks with minimal investment. If we flop small, recover quickly, learn quickly, so we can move forward better informed. The goal isn't to fail. The goal is to get definitive answers quickly using the least amount of resources. Okay, let's talk budgeting. How much do I need to start? Fair question. My magic number is 200 units. 200 is just enough to give you real analytics, data you can actually study without overcommitting to something just in case you might want to phase it out. Now, here's how that plays out. If your product costs 50 cents a unit, well, that's just a $100 buy-in. But if it's $4 a unit, then that's going to cost you $800. So if money is tight, start by mentally filtering for lower cost of good items. Yes, greater risk can bring greater reward, but infinite supply allows infinite scale. Always remember, time is the real enemy. Money earned over time is the core metrics that matters at the end. So your low-cost item may actually outperform other items in the long run through volume. Remember, infinite supply allows for infinite scale. The truth is, I'm already aware that most of you who watch this show are more curious than ready. If I had to take a guess, I would say only about 3 in 500 viewers will actually take the plunge, despite the rest of the audience being in full agreement that this is probably one of the best ways forward. You see, our country has advanced to the point where everyday items just can't be produced locally at reasonable prices anymore. So the United States has become such a tech giant with the bulk of its production in chip-related hardware and software service, so everyday items get outsourced to foreign lands. All right, importing. I am well aware that the only obstacle left in the way now is to get the product on hand. So for that, I have 3 paths forward. You may absolutely send inquiries to the manufacturer yourself. Some factories speak better English than others. Oftentimes, they might come off a little bit hasty, and you could also get very good deals, but sometimes they also come with a pretty high shipping prices as well. And you'll have to trust them for the logistics. Just know that in your own personal negotiations, you will be placed on opposite ends of the table. Or you could go with number 2, hire your own sourcing agent. Plenty of people on Fiverr that you could vet for. Certainly better to have a broker on your side of the table where your agent's interests are aligned with your interests, and they will handle the logistics for you as well as the quality control and the scheduling. However, a sourcing agent generally doesn't have much experience in commerce or marketing, so they are only at your disposal to take your orders. Number 3, you can work with me by booking a call on PegasusBlueprint.com, where I offer both guidance and brokerage. I will handle everything a sourcing agent can do for you, plus advise you on how to play your hand after speaking more to you about you and your current life's situation. This service is just about acquiring the product first. Your required budget will mostly just be for your order plus shipping to your door. Clients who place future orders regularly with me are allowed a free consultation once a month for any reason, whether it's to launch another product or just to spitball some ideas around. My offer is to make these easily accessible and immediate. The opportunity in reselling comes from trying to curate overlooked items at undervalued prices. The wording of that alone screams scarcity and limitation. Steady, sustainable revenue exists in the mainstream. The faster we accept that, the faster we can move forward. Something pragmatic, something real. For other concerns with product launches and transitioning to larger platforms, there are other services specifically on my site for that. In order to follow along at home, I recommend using the Chrome browser and then to get the Jungle Scout extension for Chrome, as well as the Keepa extension, both found in the Chrome Web Store.
Jungle Scout and Keepa each serve a different but equally critical purpose in product research. Jungle Scout gives us the pulse of the market. It shows estimated sales volume, competition, and overall demand. It helps us identify what's selling, how often, and how strong that niche really is. But Keepa fills in the missing half of the story. It gives us time depth. It shows the price history and how long that listing has actually been active. In other words, it tells us whether success is consistent or just a lucky spike. When you combine both tools, you get clarity. Jungle Scout tells you what looks good today. Keepa tells you what stood the test of time. And that's the difference between chasing trends and building something sustainable.
So essentially, the exercise is going to be the same thing week in, week out as we source from the best portal of Alibaba and over to Amazon. So what I recommend is that you get on the Chrome and then you switch over to incognito mode. I have my reasons for this. And then you get on Alibaba.com and then we scroll down here. Now, the first thing that you want to do is click on new arrivals. So once we're here, this is a cataloging method of going through dozens and dozens of items. Now, you're not going to find stuff that you want like right away, but the idea is this. Every time you click on things and you shop for stuff, well, what happens is that the site tries to build an algorithm to learn your moves, and we don't want that. Because that way we could go through the catalog and it's not just always filtering for the exact same things over and over again. Now, of course, if that's what you want, then don't use the incognito mode and just sign in with your own account. However, every single time I want to come in here and I just want to look at the catalog with a fresh pair of eyes, I want to load up a new Chrome and then switch over to incognito mode and then start scrolling down over here. Now, I'm not really looking anything in particular. It's just whatever comes to mind, because whatever I see right now, it could be a good idea. It could be a bad idea. I actually don't know yet. But the point is that I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down and then look at stuff and just see whatever jumps out to me. See, we're just doing a brisk walk in the park. Everything that you see on the screen right now, it could be a bulky item. It could be too expensive. It could not make any sense. Like, for example, you know, there's this whole engine assembly over here for $450. Like, we're not going to do stuff like that. Also, bear in mind of crazy things such as the branded stuff. Sometimes you'll find a Nintendo Switch. Sometimes you're going to find, you know, a DJI Pocket Osmo and stuff. And those are not things that you want to get into. We're definitely not getting this crane. But as we scroll through and then we start jumping around with different kinds of categories, we keep going through this catalog. Now, this catalog changes often, so you want to spend a lot of time on this, perusing through the catalog until something jumps out at you. And then week in and week out, I'm going to show you what my pick of the week is and why. And basically, that's how we're going to do our preliminary shopping. Again, you just want to go ahead and pick out like 3, 4, or 5 things that you just thought was kind of interesting. And then I'm going to show you how to search for its market viability using speculatory apps such as Jungle Scout and Keepa. And that's how we start to decide whether or not we should focus on this item. So the first item that I'd like to share with you guys that seemed pretty good at a glance. So it was this Pilates board trainer. So Pilates is all the craze. A lot of women are doing it and they go for anywhere between like $13 to $17. So you could roughly probably get this somewhere around the, $15 to $20 range. So I decided to go ahead and look this up on Amazon, and then I found it here. There's plenty of people selling these different types of Pilates boards. Now, the closest one that I was able to find was this one that was actually kind of a bestseller here. And then, as you can see, this is #1 in the Pilates Reformers. So this particular item on the screen, because I have the Jungle Scout extension, it shows me that the total fees for the sale is about $30. So $30, and then if I could get this item on hand for somewhere around like $15 or $18, then it would be like about $48. $48 sold at retail for $93.40 is still pretty good. But you have to keep in mind that this guy is #1 in Pilates Reformers. So therefore, he has already established really, really good footing of prime real estate in this area. So a lot of people, when they say like, what if somebody copies you? Yeah, even if somebody copies you, they still need prime real estate, because what happens is that when there are other things that are next to you that is, just not ranked as high, like for example, this one is rank 55 in Pilates Reformers, right? This one is doing 75 units sold per month, while the #1 version was doing what? 2,238 units a month. So it's still very, very different. Just because somebody copies you, they don't have your real estate in order to follow you. So once you find an item that you could start ranking very high for because there's good opportunity in this area, then what you want to do is hold your position. Once you hold your position, even if other people copy you, it's really, not going to be that big of a deal, because everything that sells is a combination of both a good item and a good listing at the same time. So here's a big problem, okay? When I look around, I can't just look for the best opportunity of like the number one seller. That's not realistic. That doesn't really make any sense. I really want to look around the 120 to 80 kind of range of ranked sellers. So when I look at this one of Pilates reformers and stuff, this one is at rank 122, and they are selling monthly units 7 sold, at best maybe 1 a day. This is terrible, okay? So when I scroll back up here and then I click on my Jungle Scout extension and I scan the search results of this, I get a 6, medium demand with low competition. Personally, I would not recommend this one. I would probably not get into this. Now, something really cool about the Jungle Scout extension that I want to show you guys that's very different from just doing sold comps on eBay. Because see, here's something that you could do. As we scroll down here, we could look for stuff that kind of sort of doesn't really apply. Like this one kind of makes no sense, right? And then this one is kind of not it. That doesn't make any sense. This one doesn't look right. These are some kind of socks. And then let me see what else that we have here. Some kind of vibration plate over here, right? So these are not Pilates boards, right? This one still says Pilates board. And then this one is something for feet. So, you know, this generally happens every single time you do your sold comp type-ish methods on eBay, but then you can't refine it in any way. That's the bad part about this. But with Jungle Scout, I could go ahead and click hide rows over here. And then after it hides rows, it will generally recalculate the opportunity score. Now, I've already just made this a lot more accurate. Now, I could spend more time to make it even more accurate, but I could already see that the number didn't really change. We're still at medium demand at low competition. Okay, so now I have to explain to you guys exactly what these numbers mean on these opportunity scores. So I'm just going to kind of blow this up a little bit over here. So on our top right, basically it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's no such thing as a 10. 10 is this invisible number that lets you know that doesn't go on to like 11, 12, 13, okay? So I have never seen a 10 before. They simply don't exist. And the reason why they don't exist is because there's no such thing as an item that's so incredibly in demand that nobody knows about it and nobody is offering it. So that doesn't make any sense. So the best that I've ever seen is a 9. I've seen a 9 like 2 or 3 times. A 9 is basically a unicorn. An 8 after that is definitely 8s and 9s you want to jump on as quick as possible. 7s is your basic workhorse, okay? 7s is always in a decent opportunity score where if you just join the party on 7, 8s, or 9s, then basically you're gonna get wet because there's just enough rain clouds in this area. 6 is starting to get shaky. I wouldn't jump into a 6 until I'm already in this niche and I know how to fight my way to the top. If you are just jumping into this niche, you are new to all of this, stay with the 7s and up. So what exactly is a 9 and an 8 anyways? Well, a 9 and an 8, right, is what 7s are today. 7s used to be 8s and 9s until more people got into it, As more people get into it even further, it will drop down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the issue is, as I said before, if you could get in on it early while there is still very high demand, fight your way for a good piece of real estate and then hold your position. Even if other people jump in, it's not worth it for them to do so. And their opportunities get much, much lower. While you can see that somebody over here, if we sort by monthly units sold, so you can see that the January one, right, sells 2,239, right? And then their 3 colors is pretty much holding up top. And then the next one is this Mirage one where they're selling 1,656 units and then 780 units, 670. See, so it just starts to significantly drop down where basically, you know, only the top, 10 or 20 sellers is moving more than 200 plus units while everybody else is struggling into the double digits. That's not where you want to be. So once you see something like this is how you use the Jungle Scout app to say, okay, the opportunity on this one isn't very good. So every single week I'm going to be doing a different item that's going to have a very good opportunity score of 7 or better. I just wanted to start with the first one to show you what a bad example would look like so that you know this absolutely happens. Not everything that you source is going to be good. We're going to spend a lot of time on this, but essentially now you have the tools in your pocket to start speculating what are the opportunities that are actually out there. Okay, guys, so let's do a positive item. So I also want to show you that there's also a reverse searching method. You don't necessarily have to go from Alibaba to Amazon. You could go from Amazon back to Alibaba and then go back to Amazon again. So this is what I mean by this, okay? So I did a quick search for hairline topper, whatever. Last time I found that hairline, comb thing that was pretty good. So I just put this in and then I pretty much just let it autofill the topper portion. What I didn't expect was that it would take me over here to this More Clip Bangs, 100% human hair, et cetera, whatever, for $33. And it says 400 plus sold in the past month. Now, I want to take a closer look at this and see that it's ranked 75 in hair pieces. So that's pretty good. Now, when I jump on this thing, I want to double check this real quick, right? I want to make sure that More whatever isn't like a super hot brand that's already being sold in places like Ulta or Sephora or something like that, and I just don't know what I'm talking about. So let me double check here of what's going on. And it says sold by Ling Hong Wig, right? So when I double check Ling Hong Wig over here, of course, it's some Chinese company, right? So I can already safely say, all right, okay, we could probably jump in the boat with them. Let's just see if this is market viable. So they got like all sorts of different colors and things like that. So when we jump on this, I noticed that there is this little video here. So this is one of the best parts, right? You can add videos and things like that that really help to sell your item. So let's just watch this particular video together.
Okay, quick review on the More 100% human hair.
She kind of looks like Jillian Michaels, huh?
These are the color that I chose that I did a pretty darn good job. It is the ombre ash blonde. And as you can see, they're pretty phenomenal. Easy. So what I've done is I threw up on a messy bun. These are the hairs that come with the actual
she got the
bangs.
bump it going on.
I did a round brush with heat to them to be able to basically style them the way I wanted to. I clipped them in right at my hairline, which I'm going to show you. There's my hairline.
Jesus.
And they come with 3 clips.
All right.
That basically all you do is you open them up and then you clip them onto your hair. So if you put them right at your hairline, success. So as you saw, pretty great, huh? Just throw on and go, elevate your style, get a little fancy.
Okay, so let's see if we can find this thing. This is called clip-in bangs, right? So if I do a little search over here and I put in clip-in bangs, there you go. So there's plenty of companies out there that you could get it for $5 over here, and then some people have it for as low as like $1.20, and then some say 99 cents. So, you got to spend some time searching through this stuff of like what people are selling and getting a better understanding for it. But essentially, what is the opportunity in hair pieces? So when I jump over here and then just click on, hair pieces, and then these are all sorts of hair pieces in the hair piece genre, right? Now, let's just go ahead and do a Jungle Scout scan. Wow, okay. So this is the 8. Okay, now what I really want to do here is that like I see that there are men's pieces and then there are women's pieces, but what I want to do is start like, omitting certain things, right? Do I want to just do men's hair pieces or just women's hair pieces and then let the opportunity score recalibrate itself again so I really know what I'm getting into here, as well as we showed before, right? One of the best things about Jungle Scout is that I can scroll down here and then see what the total fees actually are. So if the total fees for this thing to, handle, store, ship, everything is only $10.25, then I could get this thing on hand for, I don't know, $4, $5 or something like that. And this thing sells for $34. It's going to be pretty good. Now, when we go over to this item and then we take a look at how they're doing over here, right? This one, 1,573 units sold, okay, selling at $34. $50,000 revenue per month, and then it's ranked 75 in hair pieces. So realistically, we could probably fight our way there. Now, we're going to go ahead and use the Keepa extension over here to let us know exactly what's going on. So it's $33.99, so they raised the price, and then before that they were just doing $32.99, so only a $2 difference, not that big of a deal. Now I can see over here that if I click on all, it's 414 days. So these guys have been around for like a year and a quarter. Now you can see that they started off with $26.99. This is the understanding of shifting gears for the initial pain, right? When you're trying to grow your listing and you're trying to rank up, what do you want to do? You want to put up your promoted ads. You want to, go low on your margins because you're trying to fight for positioning, jockeying for positioning, And when we do something like this, it could start climbing, and then you can see that they started raising their numbers. Now they're holding steady and they could sell it at $33.99 today. This is exactly how proper business is done. This is how scaling happens. You want to get to a better positioning so that you could have better volume. And then once you're here, then you could bring the price back up because you have visibility. So even when other people sell it for very cheap and they copy you or whatever, they're in the bottom of the catalog and just nobody's going to see it. They're going to have to pay for visibility, and they're going to have, good product differentiation as well as offer value or give up some margins in order to fight all the way to the top. So when people, they don't have, a lot of capital or something, and then they just jump into a more saturated market, this is definitely very difficult to do. But when you are in a 9, an 8, a 7 kind of area, definitely this is something where you just want to join the party, because once you join the party, there are enough rain clouds here for you to just be here with your item, holding a bucket, and just be like, hey, we're all gonna get wet together. All right, guys, that was the supply chain episode 1. If you enjoyed that, please give it a big like, and remember to tune in every single Sunday as I pump out another fresh cookie cutter idea. All right, see you next time.